Hey peeps, it's pretty windy out here, but it's a lovely windy winter day. The highs are around 50 right now. Lows at night are still below freezing, about 30s. We'll take it. So this is the growing space this year. Doesn't look like much, but it's gonna be pretty epic. I'm excited. Oh, this guy wants me to play with him a little bit. Ow, it was my foot. Back up, back up, back up, back it up. So I did grow in this space last year. It was like a ton of gravel, an old junky pole barn foundation. It had a bunch of like rebar and stuff coming out. There was a silo pad that was really broken up. And then of course, our barn we filled in. But Brad's pretty much got his heart set on building the shop up at the top of the hill at our driveway, and I've got the green light now to put something cute together down here. The tree that he took out, there's this root. Get that, get that, get, not that, get that, get that, get that tree, get that tree, get it. Get that, get that, get that tree, get that tree, get that tree, get it. Get it. Good boy. All right, I won't bore you with my dog. Let's go inside. Let's go inside and talk shop. I'll tell you my plan, kind of tell you how I plan and what plants I'm growing. All right, now that we're out of the wind, we can talk garden planning. So how I always like to start my garden, no matter if I've started in that space before or if I'm developing a new space, I figure out what the space is and what capacity I can grow. The environment, the elements, all of that stuff, kind of really getting an idea of the space. So we just did that. That's outside. It's like 25 feet by 25 feet, which was the original kind of junky foundation that was there. So I'm going to kind of stick to that size since that ground's already all torn up. It's full sun right now, and I know it's full sun during the growing season. That's something you want to keep in mind. At my old place, it was a smaller suburb area. In the wintertime, our backyard was full sun because there was no leaves on the trees. But when the leaves budded out, it was partial shade, kind of mostly shade, with only really getting a huge block of morning sun, which, you know, you can still work with, but I would say that it was more conducive to, you know, salads, lettuce, that sort of thing. I struggled with big beefy slicer tomatoes, but I did well with the cherry ones. Then I'm trying to think of kind of what I want to do. I could do in-ground, since it is torn up, but there was a ton of gravel there before. It's probably still very rocky. I'm going to do a really thick layer of cardboard in that whole square, in that whole 25 feet by 25 feet, and then get some free wood chips and mulch that all up really well, kind of level it up. And then I'm going to get raised beds. I love how that Vigo garden looks. I think those white kind of waffly like scalloped beds are so pretty, and I wish I could afford the Vigo raised beds and the Vigo greenhouse. Oh, it's a little bit over my budget right now, so I'm going to try to find a good dupe and start a little bit smaller so I can add some Vigo beds as I expand. Let me see if I can find some beds. Okay, I think I have it. I was kind of, I kind of like play around with different sizes and stuff. I just looked at a few websites of raised beds, kind of what I think I could afford and handle. So I'm not gonna go with this. What I'm gonna actually do is I'm going to get 3 rectangular raised beds. 1, 2, 3 on the east and the west side of the garden. Then on the north and the south side of the garden, I'm gonna get 8 3x3 square raised beds that'll flank both the entrance. Yeah, here, let me get drawing. Okay, yeah, ooh, I like this. Okay, so you see, I figured out what my space is. I figured out the size. I figured out kind of what I can handle. I could do in ground and just, you know, not burden myself with buying the infrastructure of the raised beds, but I found some that I liked that'll fit the space. I am gonna do 3 rectangular beds on the east and the west side of the garden. Then in the center-ish, top, bottoms, north and south, will be 4 square raised beds. And then in the center of it will be kind of like a courtyard. But I'm gonna make sure that the courtyard is big enough to potentially house any one of the greenhouse options that I want. I really want a greenhouse this year, you guys know. So I just wanna make sure that this space is available for it if that vision is manifested. Okay, cool. Now, I figure out my list of plants that I wanna grow. So I already have my list because I've been poring over seed catalogs like nobody's business. Oh, I found this one that's really local to me, so I'm excited to try out some of these. And how pretty. I mean, you guys, awesome. So I already came up with my must grow list, and how I come up with this is pretty much just figuring out what the heck do we already buy? What do we enjoy to eat fresh? What are some even personal care items that we enjoy or decor that I can grow or try out, or something that I know the kids really love to snack on, or something I know I'm really excited about. I kind of get that whole thing together. So like for my family, tomato products, I think in most homes are a huge thing. Lettuce with fresh eating salads, green bean, corn, peas, carrots, onions are all staples in our house as well, and they freeze and preserve really well. I'm gonna try growing grapes again. Strawberries, I have to, duh. If you're not growing strawberries, what the heck? And I wanna try my hand as well with some berries, like blueberries and raspberries. Anywho, I'm just about to just start listing everything off. That would be so exhausting. So I just really figure out, what does my family like? What do I want to use things for? I want to grow eucalyptus for, you know, shower bundles and in bouquets. I think something that's really overlooked too, especially if you're a beginner or you have a small space, is herbs. Herbs are so key. If you can create your Italian seasoning blend, that is amazing. Do it. Grow your basil and your oregano and go to town and get your thyme and your rosemary ready and sage for, you know, the Thanksgiving turkey brine. Like, there's just so many things that you can do with herbs, and so many more meals that you can influence with all of your hard work of gardening. Teas are also kind of in that respect too. I love lemon balm ginger tea. That is so good, and those are also really easy to grow. Echinacea is really good. Mint is super soothing, especially for indigestion. So just kind of look and see what you already have. You can even make, you know, some like cough drops out of, like some honey cough drops out of the stuff you have. Oh my gosh, it's limitless. The other part of that too is, what do you want just for you? Bouquets. I love fresh flowers. I want a ton of fresh flowers for myself as well as for the market. So that's kind of how I figure all the things out. I make my big list, and then I kind of take things away or add things, revise it. You know, nothing's set in stone, but it helps me kind of like brain dump before I'm getting my hands dirty. Because when I get to planting and gardening, I just want to do it. I don't even want to think about it. I just want to enjoy the moment. So this kind of planning process too isn't necessary. It's actually kind of fun for me. Like the planning is part of the fun of planting. So you don't have to do this, but this is what I like to do. So now that I showed you my list of my must grow, and that's like everything for the property. So I'm gonna kind of play around with placement of the vegetable garden stuff, my victory garden. What does that look like? And what can I take off of my list here and plug in there? Because then I can put anything I don't fit on this list in other spots. My list is a little bit extensive because I do have a couple other spots I want to grow, but I can take some of this stuff off of my list into my victory garden. So let me toy around with that. So how I figure out the placement of things roughly, seed packets are super helpful for spacing information, but I find that having a couple, like 2 or 3 seed catalogs on you while you're planting is also helpful too, because a lot of the time they'll say it only grows 20 inches tall by 12 inches wide, or spacing 12 feet between rows. And so there's a lot of information as well in the catalogs that kind of give you an idea. So I can quick look at like the Cherokee tomato that I want to grow, kind of how much spacing it needs. And since I know the beds that I want to purchase from the store are roughly 4x2 or 6x2, I can kind of go off of that room for how many beds, for how many tomatoes I can fit in either a 4x2 bed or a 6x2 bed. So that's kind of how I'm placing things. But okay. I think I have it. I mean, it's going to be more of like a square. I'm using a rectangular piece of paper, so it looks like a rectangle, but it's going to be more square than that. But yay! And this is confusing. You won't know all of my chicken scratch. But essentially, okay, what I can walk you through. Oh, my husband's calling me. Hold on. Hi. Okay, so it's funny, my garden is going to be kind of perfectly centered north, south, east, west. So 3 of the beds are going to be my tomato beds for my slicer, my paste, and my cherry tomatoes. I like to plant my garden beds, especially if I can go all the way around, kind of like you would make a bouquet. So like the center to be the thriller, the middle to be the filler, and then the lowest outer edge to be the spiller. So the center will be the tomatoes that are staked. Around the tomatoes are going to be herbs and onions, and then kind of spilling out, looking beautiful, are going to be the nasturtiums, or maybe even some other kind of trailing edible flowers if I can figure some out. And that just kind of repeats for those 3. Then on the other side, I'll have 2 grape beds kind of flanking my cucumber bed. And the grape beds will be the thriller. Around them will be flowers and herbs. And then the center one for my cucumbers will be the cucumbers as the middle, herbs around the outside, and then carrots and then flowers trailing over. The boys are here. So then there's going to be 4 square raised beds on either side, so 8 total. It'll be a pepper, a sunflower, a corn, then a corn, sunflower, pepper. Surrounding the pepper will be I think it's cabbage. Will be a leafy green. Then surrounding the sunflower is going to kind of do a 3 sisters thing with the sunflowers and the corn. So it'll be beans and peas that'll grow up them. Then there will be some lettuce and kale And then again with the spilling of the flowers, like the nasturtiums, and that just gets repeated on both sides. It'll be pretty straightforward and super cute. I am planning on having a little fence around it, arches on the north entrance and the south entrance with maybe, I was thinking roses, but I have a ton of sweet pea seeds that I can start. Big boys are home. But I have a ton of sweet pea seeds that I can start, so that could buy me a little bit of time before I have to, you know, purchase 2 beautiful David Austin roses per arch. You know, that can cost upwards from like $20 to $40 per bare root.
You should like and subscribe.
Yeah, that is the Vice Victory Garden, the vegetable garden for this year. I hope that helped you guys out. Question: if you know of any smaller compact squash, like zucchini or something like that, that stays small and doesn't want to take over the walkways, let me know, because I'd love to add that into the sort of Three Sisters square beds instead of doing the nasturtiums. So yeah, okay, well, hope you guys get planting, get planning, and I'll give you guys updates because we're gonna start seeds pretty soon, which is why I like to kind of get this all out of the way first so I know what I'm growing and I can get started. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye.